Hello and welcome once again to Crush Your Mountain Personal Growth. And my guest today is a good friend of mine, and we have similar personalities. So we feed off of each other. Sometimes you don't know when we're joking, and you might go along until you realize that we are joking. And I guess that's what brought us together back in the day. But B.G. Howard's story is so incredible. He was a model up in New York, and he had a terrible accident that left him in a coma for 7 months. Well, this caused his businesses to fail, and he wound up in millions of dollars in debt. We're going to talk about all of that experience, the things that he's learned, how he's crushed through it, and what he's doing now to see the light at the end of the tunnel, to fall down 7 and to get back up 8. It's a Japanese statement. However, we all have that similar idea. And I really want you to pay attention to understand that you yourself, no matter what you experience, regardless of the tragedies that you experience, those tragedies that we experience day in and day out, week in and week out, bottom line is you can get back up and you can move forward. Let's pay attention to this incredible discussion with Mr. B.G. Howard. My good buddy with me. You know, it's there's an old Japanese saying that says "Nana korobe ya oke," which means fall down 7, get up 8. Well, my friend B.G. Howard, okay, he has done just that, and he's the epitome of it. And I'm so happy to have him with us today. So let me just let's talk to him about it. Let's bring him on. B.G. Howard, welcome to Crush Your Mountain. Okay, so we're going to unmute you. There you go.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you for allowing me to share your time.
Hey, look, it's good to see you again, man. You know, and you're a cool guy. We see things similarly, and you're one of those people that I know that I can learn from, because you have a lot of knowledge and experience. And that's what I wanted to share with our personal growth audience, Crush Your Mountain Personal Growth. You know, you own your own publishing company now, but now we talked, and I remember when you went through a spell. Tell us about your companies beforehand. You're a businessman. That's what you do. Tell us your story. Tell me about your first company. What is it? How did you get there? Tell us a little bit.
Well, the backstory, I was living in New York, working as a model, and had an accident. So I had a house here in Jacksonville, and reason said, well, it's the cost of living is more expensive in New York, and I couldn't work. So logic said, go back to Jacksonville, where the cost of living is less, and you can last longer. Ironically, I get back to Jacksonville, had all my doctor's appointments and everything transferred down here, and I'm in Jacksonville for about 2 weeks, and had another accident. So that pretty much cemented my stay in Jacksonville. I then was, after I completed the process of physical therapy, the money was honestly running low, so I had to do something to make ends meet, or at least make them come close together. So I started working at a communications company, and I didn't honestly know anything about communications, but it was it was a job, and I worked there for about 3 or 4 years. And there was an incident. We'll leave it at that. There was an incident, and that prompted me to pursue my own thing. So I started the communications company from a spare bedroom in my house with a borrowed computer and a $39 fax machine.
Wow. So out of curiosity, so the name of that company was what, and what did they do?
The name of the company, Communication Technologies Unlimited. We installed telephones, and data networks throughout the United States, some parts of Canada and Mexico.
So was it easy to get started with that, or to just jump in and get contracts and things of that nature?
Well, you got to figure this was several years ago, so things were a little bit different than they are now. Back then, all you really needed was, well, I say back then, like it was like, I'm not that old, but all you really needed was, a telephone line, fax machine, and some contacts. And that's how we started. It was initially, it was, kind of slow going, as most businesses are, but then it picked up and we're doing well. Moved from the house into a 30,000 square foot office space. Was, as they say in the South, that we were doing the darn thing. And then one day I made the fateful mistake of saying, Lord, I want to retire early. And he said, okay. So he pushed the truck out in front of me.
Wow.
And at that point, I realized, yeah, the Lord does have a sense of humor. I think it was a total of 16 accidents in 14 years.
16 accidents in
16, yeah. When I started driving again, I underwent, first of all, I was in a coma for 7 months. Broke both my ankles, both my shins, both my knees, both my femurs, my pelvis in 3 places, both my upper arms, both my elbows, both my forearms, and both my wrists. And had a massive concussion that left me in a coma for 7 months. I like to say I took a nap.
Long nap.
A little nap. But when I woke up from my nap, I had no memory. Couldn't walk, couldn't talk. It required about 7.5, 8 years of physical therapy and rehab. The inside joke is I put 3 of my psychiatrist kids through college. Bought his wife a bought his wife a nice diamond ring and a new 5-bedroom house.
I believe it. Wow. Wow. And this is just dealing with the first business.
Right. Well, I had started the first business, and then about a year, maybe a year and a half in, I bought the second business. So the first business was the that's part of the one of the consequences of the accident. But anyway, I bought the second business. It was it's termed construction, but what we did is we basically erected metal buildings. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know it, but like when you go to a car, typically you go to a car dealership, you see the office space and then the shop area where people are not allowed to go. That's just a big metal building with skin on it. And we used to erect those buildings. It was a pretty nice job. I mean, well, it was a pretty nice job for me because I didn't do any of the work.
you just hired and fired.
Well, yeah. I didn't get a pleasure out of it. Never took pleasure in firing anybody. But sometimes life happens.
It's necessary, right.
Yeah.
But now it must have, during that 7-month period, as you began to come back to yourself, okay, did you find yourself looking at life differently, looking at the situation in a certain way that propelled you forward? A lot of individuals would fall into a depression, and how did things manifest for you?
Well, I went through all that, all of the above. I was angry. Wow, I was very angry. When I was in the hospital, and when they I was released from the hospital. I went to a rehab facility, and I'm still regretful to this day. There was an individual there. She was a nurse's aide. I don't even remember her name, but I was so angry. One day she came into my room. I reamed her. I mean, I don't even know what she did, but I reamed her. I mean, I cursed her out so badly. Um, she ended up quitting. And when I came back to my senses,
Mm-hmm.
I went, I took the initiative and went over to the facility. I was looking for her to apologize. I really wanted to apologize to her, but unfortunately, I have not been able to find her. But then I had to in okay, so I felt really really bad, and when I came to my senses, um, I still couldn't remember a lot of what happened, but I do remember that incident, and I went back to the facility to to uh to apologize to her. I was studying, trying to draw closer to the Lord, and one of the things that the Bible teaches, one of the staples of forgiveness. And I felt the need to ask her for her forgiveness. So I went back to the facility looking for her, but unfortunately she was not there, and they didn't know where she had gone.
So that had a profound effect on you, no doubt. That you know, but do you feel that you were the catalyst in her quitting?
Well, it's hard to say that I wasn't, because after that incident she quit. So it's like, what there's no other conclusion that you can reach. I mean, we don't know. I don't know. There may have been something going on in her life, and that incident could have been the straw that broke the camel's back. But still, regardless of the precipitating events, I was as you stated, the catalyst that resulted in her quitting.
It's amazing though that you had a turn of heart, a change of heart, and what I think is interesting is that your, part of your recovery was coming even further, moving forward further in making things, recreating your life. Talk to me a little bit about what that meant for you.
To sum it up, my experience, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I mean, there are times that depression is no joke. I mean, it's not something that most people don't understand. And even fewer than that can deal with it. And I'm not taking any credit upon myself. In truth, if it wasn't for the development, even in the beginning stages, but if it wasn't for the development of my faith, I don't know where I would have ended up. Um, at one point, you know, before I met my wife, excuse me. I mean, we weren't married when we met, but when I met my wife, she was the person who eventually became my wife. she helped me to develop a better relationship with the Lord. And I know in a lot of cases that's taboo. You're not supposed to talk about that, but it's true.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, okay? You went on to you had the businesses, you had the accident, you went through 7 months of napping, as you say, right? Right.
Yeah.
Then you had to go through the rehab. Then you're finally at a certain point. I gather you found yourself also in a bit of a financial bind from the business.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, now was that an understatement on my part?
To put a number to it, after my 7 month nap, I woke up to find myself $4.87 million in debt.
So that's $4,870,000 in debt. So you round it up as that's $5 million in debt.
Oh, and by the way, I'm on fixed income.
Say that again?
I'm on fixed income.
Oh yeah, that's right. On top of that.
So I spoke to my attorney, and I had, I think there were like 4 teams of attorneys that worked on my stuff. My father at the time, he was still living, and he was assigned as my quote unquote legal guardian. And he told me that he had approached a few legal eagles regarding the possibility of me filing bankruptcy. And I quote, he said, the attorney looked at him, one of the better attorneys, better law firm, looked at him and told him, said, Mr. Howard, with all due respect, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Mm.
So I was so financially devastated that they wouldn't even take up a bankruptcy case.
Wow.
So you're in trouble when you can't even file bankruptcy.
That would be yeah, that's true. That's very true. So now you're in this dump. How did you begin to crawl out?
Oh gosh. Well, before I met my wife, my now wife, it was, as I stated before, it's not something I would wish on my worst enemy. People could not understand where I was. I couldn't even understand where I was. I couldn't understand who I was. So I'm going through this process of trying to figure out, excuse me, trying to figure out who I am. I had my mother and my father were still living at the time. I have 5 biological siblings. A few people that, business associations and so on and so forth. But basically, when trying to figure out who I was or who I was, am, whatever, when trying to figure me out, mm-hmm. I asked the 7 people who were closest to me. And I got 7 different stories. When I went to visit my god sister in Brooklyn, New York, she summed it up. She says, your life consisted of a great many little circles. Your life consisted of a great many little circles, and you never allowed any of the 2 circles to intersect. And that was, honestly, I never realized it, but that was my life. My elder brother his name is Michael, but we call him Buck. His nickname is Buck. And he said that during the time of the accident, there were several groups of people who gathered in the waiting room, literally gathered in the waiting room. Some were wearing shirts and ties, some were wearing suits, some were wearing jeans, leather, chains. And at one point, the doctor came in and said that, we're sorry to announce that anybody who's here to see, PG Howard, we're gonna have to ask you to leave because he just flatlined again. And nobody other than family is gonna be allowed in the scene. So as the biker group is leaving, one of the guys turned around and looked at him and said, "Hey, Buck, you not coming?" He said, "No." And the guy says to him, "Well, the doctor just said they're not gonna let anybody see him other than family. And we've been riding together for 5 years, 5+ years." And my brother said he looked at the guy and said, "That's my brother." And they were like, "What?" "That's my brother." There were people business people there who were sitting there wondering who the people in the leather and chains were. They're wondering who the people are in the shirts and ties. Every group was wondering who they were there, who the others were there to see, and they were all there to see me. And that just really, my god sister told me that, and it just really put my life into perspective because I never realized. I didn't tell the business people about the bikers. I didn't tell the bikers about the church people. I just kept the circle separate.
Compartmentalized.
Exactly. That's the exact word for it. So that was the life I lived.
So that said, though, you reached a point when did you integrate those circles, or how did you again? What steps did you take to go through the change and go through the challenge to where you are now?
To be very honest with you, because I lost my memory, and my mother said that I never wrote down a phone number. I kept them all in my head. So if my hard drive, quote unquote, is erased, I got nothing left. So unless it's been a case of someone contacting me, they're not a part of my life anymore because I don't remember them. Even my siblings and my family, I had to become reacquainted with them. Somebody to tell me, "Oh, I'm your sister, I'm your brother." Okay. What am I gonna argue? So I just kind of had to embrace the idea or the concept of starting over, like literally starting over.
Were you able to regain your memory? Did it start to come back to you?
Oh, sure.
How did you feel when things started coming, and how did it feel? What was your experience like?
Well, my mother at the time was the closest person to me, and I would tell her about a dream that I had, and she'd say, there were times that there were, I wouldn't say dreams, but visions, if you will. And there were times that she would say, baby, that wasn't a dream. That really happened. And she would give me, the approximate date and time that it occurred. So bits and pieces would come, but never in full detail and never complete. So now I'm caught somewhere in the middle, trying to figure out which part of what I'm seeing is real, which part isn't, and how do I mesh them together. And like I said, not something I would wish on my worst enemy. You talk about struggle. It was a genuine struggle. And you know what? Honestly, Still is. I wrestle with the I wrestle with severe bouts of depression. I will by default retreat into myself. And Sandra and she has come to recognize when it's happening. And the comment is, well, that monkey's in your back again. And I'm like, yeah. And she knows at that point, just back up and I'll come back. But just give me my space. I need to pardon the expression. But if I'm allowed time to deal with me, I can get that under control. But if I'm distracted from dealing with me, pardon the expression, but all hell breaks loose. So I have to pull away, extract myself from the situation, the circumstances, the people around me, to be able to get a handle on what's going up here. And that's one of the challenges. So I can't take any credit upon myself, but it's for the sheer grace of God that I'm able to get through each day. Every single day is a challenge.
Yes, that's all of us in so many ways, and here you are, you've come through this, and now you started your third company with BGH Publishing. So you have a book out, okay, through BGH Publishing, self-published. So what is the name of your book? And tell us a little bit about it.
The name of the book, the title of the book is okay. The backstory. The first novel, Family Ties Thicker Than Blood, was published in 2020, May of 2020. And it's a story about a young man from South Georgia, coincidentally. His name is Willie. He relocates to New York as an aspiring model / actor. And he inadvertently saves the life of a crime boss by the name of Oswald Jenkins. But in New York, you can't be a thug named Oswald.
Mm-hmm.
So ergo the name Oz. So he inadvertently accidentally saves Oz's life, and Oz kind of takes him under his wing, more or less adopts him. And so he's learning the ropes, running things for Oz, and that kind of creates an issue with the other protege of Oz's by the name of Amp, or Anthony. Excuse me. So Amp is now been displaced, and he teams up with another former protege by the name of Jerome. So Jerome and Amp, the two previous second in command, has this plan to take over Oz's territory. And the book contains accounts, exploits of Willie's adventures when he unwisely starts dating NYPD officer Ernestine Lady. So he's running things for Oz, dating a police officer. He can't tell Oz about his desire to be a model or an actor because Oz thinks that models and actors are unrealistic people who live unrealistic lives with unrealistic expectations. And so he can't tell Oz about that. But then naturally he can't tell Oz about who he's dating either. And he can't disclose to Officer Lady his real source of living. So it's a really interesting book. Has a lot of twists, surprises, and even some slight plot modifications. But and then Willie becomes involved with an elder couple by the name of Ed and Eunice. Coincidentally, Ed is from South Carolina. Eunice is from the same area of Georgia where Willie's from, and they met in New York. Been married for 30 plus years, and Willie is adopted by them as they're like parental figures to him. So ergo Ed and Eunice become parental figures. Oz becomes a father figure. There are several dynamics concerning his biological parents. He doesn't have a very good relationship with his biological father, but like most men in the South, he's drawn to his mother. So ergo the term family ties, because all these different aspects of family are tied together and embodied in the main character.
And they're tied together through him. And in some cases, they don't know about each other, kind of compartmentalized in a way, which kind of reflects your own circumstances, your own ways. Now that's the first book. Now the next one, is that a sequel or is that an autobiography, semi-biography? What is that?
Well, it. Okay, first response. It's a sequel. It's Family Ties 2 Blood Covenant, and that will launch first week of December this year. The ironic part about it, I have a sister-in-law. She's now a professor in California, but she's originally she and her husband, my wife's brother, they lived in New York. And in matter of fact, in the novel, her name is Professor Gwendolyn Alexis, Professor Gwen Alexis, and she read the novel, and she gave me a review. It's posted printed in the front of the novel. But her first question was, "Are you sure you don't remember?" She says, "Man, reading that novel was like taking a tour of New York City." And that's the ironic part, because I don't remember living in New York. I have no recollection of anything, but there was a point a few years ago before I met Sandra. I flew to New York because my godmother still lives there, and I rented a car, drove from LaGuardia Airport, rode all over the city of New York, drove her to the casinos in Connecticut. Had a blast. Never had to ask anybody for directions, but I didn't remember the people.
Okay, so you had an unconscious remembrance of locations and directions and things like that, but individuals you didn't quite remember
At all. My father used to call it selective memory. Pardon me. But my father used to call it selective memory. Oh, sorry about that.
So for you now, you've got your first book that came out. Now you have a sequel coming out in December. Okay, and let's see. The question I have for you now is, where do you go from here? How far are you going to take the BGH publishing?
Well, to be very honest, I have scripted storylines for 22 of the novels. So, I mean, everybody with whom I speak, they're like, "Oh no, you should write an autobiography," and I tell them, "You know what? My life is really not that interesting. I live it." But the ideas, sometimes I get on my nerves. The ideas for the novels, they come. A lot of times I wake up in the middle of the night. I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep because I got this idea that just won't leave me alone. So I used to I used to try to remember them. Mistake. So and now I sleep with my phone beside the bed. That was the guy that just interrupted us. But I sleep with the phone beside the bed, and when I wake up in the middle of the night, I just, there's a file in the phone for me to take notes. So I write the things down, and then I'll transfer them to my computer. So that's where I don't know what I don't know how the story's gonna play out. I'll deal with that when I start writing.
The idea comes at that point.
Exactly. I just developed and because I can give you examples of full scenes that come to me when I'm sleeping, and I wake up going. I used to wake up going, "What the what?" But then I said, I realized what it was when I wrote this first novel. I realized what it was, and I said, okay, well, I just write it down and come back to it later.
We call that the indomitable spirit. We call that it's just that drive that you have. And that's the amazing thing about it. I'm so glad that we had this moment to talk and for my audience to hear your story, because this is truly personal growth. Personal growth is going through the challenges, regardless of how severe they are. Personal growth is maybe even taking a rest for a really long time, but coming back, being determined to come back from it. And every aspect has a way of, everything opens a dimension for you.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
Yeah. Tell us, where can we find your books? Do you have a website? Where can we get in touch with you?
Ironically, because I am self-published, to purchase the novel from me helps me. You can buy it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I'm sorry, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, BookDepository.com, Goodreads.com, and so a couple of other online platforms. But in truth, I guess in truth, if you buy the novel from Amazon or any of these other platforms, you help Amazon and these other platforms. I don't know if it's supposed to be said, but if you go to Amazon.com and you purchase my novel for $19.95, I think it's actually gone up because Amazon raised their prices. I think it's like $23.95. But $23.95, you purchase the novel, and I'm glad you have a nice book, a good book, and you have a good read. After they go through all the changes from Amazon, I'll get a check for less than $2.
So it would be better if they go to other sites that where you would actually have a greater profit, because it's your work and and you deserve it. So you don't have a website yourself?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, the second part of that question, I just found out yesterday, talking with a consultant, that it would be better. And I thought there's a link on my site, but unfortunately, I'm within the next couple by Monday that'll be changed, because I wanted people to have the option to purchase the novel directly from me, and I thought the web designer had designed it that way, but I found out yesterday that he did not. So that's another conversation with another person for another time. But anyway, if you go to B as in boy, G as in girl, Howard, I'm sorry, author, bghoward.com, AUTHOR, bghoward.com. At authorbghoward.com, that is my website. You can go there if you're really interested and find out a little bit more about me. Sometimes I go there and I read about me too. But if you're interested to find out a little bit more about me, you can contact me via my website. My email address is bg@author.bghoward.com. Boygirl@author.bghoward.com. If you email me, I will respond. I'm very, very busy, but I make it a point to try to get back to everybody. I'm not so big yet that I can't answer the emails.
Can we buy the book from your site?
If you go right now, until I get it edited and changed, modified. Right now, if you just simply go to the website, and there's a way, a means by which you can contact me. But send me an email. Send me an email, and I'll respond. And if you wish to have a copy of the novel, I will, as I say, arrange to get it to you. Most of the people that I know, as a matter of fact, my feelings were hurt here in Jacksonville. A local author, I won't mention any names, but a local author. I went to a presentation. I got one of his books. When I asked him to sign it, he said that'll be an additional $7.95. Huh? I'm like, okay. You know what? Your name is printed on it. That's good enough for me. He wanted to charge me $7.95, $8 for his signature.
Wow.
I'm like, you know what? At the point that I do get to that level, I won't do that to people. I'm honored that you would want my novel, and then on top of that, I'm going to charge you for my name. No, I won't do that. But so if you're interested in having a copy of the novel, contact me via my website, email me directly. I will respond, and every book that I sell, you'll have my name. Not only my name, but my signature as well. And I won't charge you an additional $8 for it.
Let me tell you something, okay? That's interesting that that person should do that, because I'll give you two examples. Years and years and years ago, Desi Arnaz was in Manhattan, I think, at one of the department stores, and he was doing book signings.
Desi Arnaz?
Desi Arnaz. It's a long time ago. You know, oh, Lucy, that Desi Arnaz.
Oh well,
No.
I lost my memory. So if it happened before 2000,
Okay, one day you will turn the TV on, and you will see an old black and white comedy called I Love Lucy, and she will have a husband. His name is Ricky Ricardo, and Ricky Ricardo is played by Desi Arnaz.
okay.
Anyhow, he had a band. So he sold his books, and he actually was just sitting there writing, signing them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another person in New England, one day, a bookstore called the police, as I recall, because there was a guy going in and defacing books, just writing in the books. Well, the police came, and they looked at him, and they looked at the books, and they said, "Good to see you, sir. Can I have one of those?" It was Stephen King going in and secretly signing several copies of his book.
Wow.
So the people who are secure about who they are have no problem showing their appreciation.
Mm-hmm. And see, I would like to do something like that. That would be something I'd do.
Yeah. I have one last question for you, because you've had an amazing life, and you're having an amazing life. You have fallen down in a severe way, but you've gotten back up, and you're doing the best that you can in your endeavors. And what you have to admire is the mind and the spirit. So I have to ask you, B.G. Howard, what does it mean to you to crush your mountain?
Oh wow. To crush my mountain. You know, when I during my recovery phase, later on in my recovery phase, I realized how problematic my existence would be from then on out. My balance is not good. Um, my speech is not good. Sometimes my memory is not good. To crush my mountain, you you face challenges daily, but the mountain is that thing that's seemingly insurmountable. For me, to crush my mountain, I face the obstacles. I face the challenges daily. To crush my mountain simply means overcoming the devastating, debilitating obstacles that are thrown in your path that most people would simply back up and give up, lay down. But I can't. I can't because my mind will not let me stop. I'm no longer a business owner, but I will forever be a businessman. And that business mind will not allow me to just clock out at 5 o'clock. So that's what it means to me to crush my mountain, is to overcome the obstacles and challenges that naturally occur, and even the ones that seem insurmountable. That's my crushing my mountain.
I said this earlier, and I want to say it again. Nana Korobe ya Oko. Fall down 7, get up 8. This is what B.G. Howard has done, and I'm just so honored to have him on the show. Let me tell you what, the lesson that all of us need to keep in mind is that you will fall. In fact, there's a proverb that says that the righteous one will fall even 7 times, but he'll still get up. Well, that's very similar to the Japanese proverb. The point is that we are all going to face the challenges. We are all going to face the devastations. We are all going to deal with the problems of life. And life might hurl a snowball at you. Sometimes it'll hurl a boulder at
you. Or a truck.
Or a truck. But the point is, what can we do, regardless of the circumstance we find ourselves in, to move forward? And Sylvester Stallone in his last movie, the Balboa series, says, nothing hits as hard as life. But it's not how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
True, very true. There's a if I can interject or interrupt you, however you interpret it. I write. I enjoy all things writing. And on my website, there's one page, a blog page. It's called Points to Ponder. These are all original philosophical quotes that come to me in the middle of the night when I can't sleep, or when my mind just wanders off into Neverland. But they're all philosophical quotes, original. And there's one that is an old adage that I've held on to it for a long time, but it says a successful man gets up once more than an unsuccessful man. And life is gonna come at you.
I really like that one. That's powerful. That really hits home. It's powerful. BG, you're staying alive. And we really want to thank you so very much for being here. You didn't catch that little Saturday Night Fever reference, but that's okay. I was just messing with you.
Well, the joke's on you. The joke's on you because I can't remember.
Well, tell your wife that I said, BG, you're staying alive.
Well, I have to stay alive because the scripture that I read
is not so great.
The scripture that I read says that suicide is against the law.
Yeah, you want to avoid that.
And I think, in my opinion, I think that attempted suicide is a crime that should be punishable by death.
Listen, my friend, thank you so very much for spending time with us today. And I want to, again, just encourage everybody to check out his website, go to the bookstores that will pay him. But for now, just email him so you can get your copy of the book and the next one coming out in December. And just listen to what we say, because remember, you have the ability to move forward in your own. You have the challenges that you only know about. So take it from an individual like BG and others. Don't just climb the mountain. Crush through it, and we'll see you next time. Hey, BG, thanks again for being with us.